What's going on, everybody? It's Chris from the Hickory Algorithm coming to you another one from downtown Hickory, North Carolina. My guest today is Reese.
How's it going?
Great, man. Thanks for having me. I was going to butcher your last name just like I butcher everybody's last name on the show.
It's spelled different than it sounds.
All right, hit us with it.
It is Searles. So Searles Creative. Would never know that for how it's spelled.
No chance. I'm hitting that, dude. No chance. Well, this week, man, I asked Reese to be here. He does a great job with graphic design. I used to think that I was very good at it, and then he handed me his business card, and I realized I'm not that good at it. So he has a really great creative eye for the things that he does. You might see some of his merchandise, working with some of the Hickory FC guys.
Yep, Hickory FC, Hickory Learning Group. We got all sorts of stuff running around town.
Yeah, they were at the chamber.
Yeah, they were.
So that was your stuff too?
Some of their shirts and stuff are available on their online store, and yeah, I'm making moves.
My man, dude, that's great. So how does one get into graphic design? To me, feels a lot like when people say they're a photographer. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to have a camera and take pictures. It's another thing to be a photographer. And I think that rings true with graphic design.
Yep.
You know what I mean? A lot of people can do it just because they have Canva or they have something. Yep. And it's like, well, now I'm a graphic designer.
Right.
That as I got more and more into the weeds and saw what the things that you can come up with, yeah, it's like that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So how did you basically hone your craft to get to your own creative process? And then, we're going to dive more into it, but how did you get to your creative?
Yeah, so it really started going back to when I was a kid. I loved drawing, and my parents invested in art classes, and that's where a lot of the initial eye for composition, and you mentioned photography. My mom did photography on the side. It wasn't like a top, photographer in the area, but she had an eye. You knew how to frame a shot, and that's not somebody, somebody has to kind of know that or learn that skill, and it's the same with graphics, right? So as I was drawing and learning these composition pieces of how do you lay something out so naturally your eye and kind of readability, everything progresses into the focal point of whatever the message is, right? So whether that's a scene that you're drawing with a cabin on a pond in the woods or, whatever, there's a learning piece to that. And so art classes was huge. I started cartooning just because I loved, looking at comics in the newspaper. Yes, I'm that old that newspaper comics on Sunday was a thing.
You're talking to the right person.
Yeah. I mean, like, hey, Garfield, and, you name it. We got all sorts of it. Was it BC back, but
what was the black and white book? Far Out?
Was it Far Out? Yeah.
Far Out where it was just the Far Out stuff? Sorry, I didn't.
No, you're good. You're good. But so cartooning, so you went from like realism and then to cartooning. A friend of our family's was a political cartoonist for the Boston Herald. And so he drew me. I have this really cool drawing that's a one-off. It's a Republican elephant, and I was a baseball guy. So it's literally this pinstripe wearing, bat leaning, angry looking like Republican elephant framed in my office.
That's awesome.
And but it's a one-off from somebody I looked up to in a creative mode. So for graphic design, it really came to, I didn't go to school for it. That's a whole different story. And continuing this kind of creative journey as I was a pastor, every ministry I worked in or church that I worked in, I had to continue to hone and learn the kind of the flair or the trends of design and learn how to get there and teach myself through tutorials, whatever, and use the tools available. And at the time, Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator still are the main things out there, but they were expensive. It was a very kind of high level entry for cost. So you had to find a way to kind of get these digital tools at the time. I remember in college I had Illustrator CS2 on a CD-ROM and Photoshop Elements that you got at like Costco or Sam's Club on a discount, but that was the tools that launched me into the early stage of graphic design, and from there we're where we are now. And you've got Creative Cloud, you've got Canva, where anybody can really hop in on a free entry level compared to where a lot of designers were 10 years ago.
Yeah. Wow, man. You talk about ground floor. Like that was the Photoshop. That was it. There was nothing else there. Another thing that leads right into from graphic design is you and I have had a lot of conversations about branding, about how when someone starts a business, you really got to hone in on what that is. And a lot of people are, I have a contracting company. I'll just put a picture of a house.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or I'll just make an AI image, and that's what it feels like. A lot of those can be.
Yeah.
And again, to me, that's sort of like a Band-Aid. Like, you're going to have to change it.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to have to change it. What do you say when you're working with the client and they're like, hey, man, I don't really want anything too crazy? Because I feel like that's what probably one of the most said things to you is like, hey, man, I don't want anything wild. It's like, well, how much do you have to get to know somebody and sit down with them and really, like, what's that process like on your end?
Yeah.
Because I know what the process is like on my end.
Sure.
And someone was just like, I want this to look good.
Yeah.
But what's it like when they say, okay, I'm a contractor. Let's just use a roofer, for example.
Yep.
How, like, okay, I'm going to start a roofing company. Help me out.
Yeah.
Like, what is that like?
Yeah. So it's funny. Most of those folks will come to you and they're like, hey, I need a logo.
Yeah.
And for someone who, one of my main things that I love to do for clients is branding. Well, branding is a very broad, it's your strategy, it's your voice, it's your visual identity. And the visual identity is really the branding piece that I do most of the work for, which is the designing side. It's your forward-facing visual elements, right? And so for a roofer, they come to me and they go, hey, I need a logo. Do you need just a logo, or do you really need a brand? Right. You've got trucks rolling around town. You have social media presence because we're in a digital age. Right. Does your logo, is it scalable? Is it readable? Is there there's pieces that we want to kind of build out, and people just think that it's as simple as going onto AI, which you're seeing a lot of these logos pop up, and you can tell they're AI, and you're missing a lot of potential for your company if you just go with a logo, right? Yes, can we do that? 100%.
Right.
But if you just build the logo, you're probably missing an opportunity for thinking big picture, right? 5, 10, 20 years from now. Is it something brand-wise, your visual identity in the world, really carrying the message of your business? And that's not going to be just your logo, right? It's the color palette. What is that? When someone sees it, what's invoked on them for how they feel? Is it something that's too bold or too feminine? Is it There's all these elements when it comes to design that you want to take a peek at, and that's what I try to help clients go through. And then so I try to walk them through. It's not just a logo. We're not just using AI, right? We're going to really sit and walk through it. It's a process. It doesn't just happen in 2 weeks, Yeah,
even whenever I got my website done, it turned into, what colors do you want? I was like, well, just use the colors on my logo. And like, what are those? And I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Blue, yellow, brown.
Yeah. All of the things.
But when I started talking to them, they were, when you have a color, there's a formula attached to that. There's that's what it is. It's XB, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
It's your hex code, RGB, CMYK, you name it.
Right, because and when they said this to me, it clicked in my head. It's like, you can have a logo, but your brand, that's where you do fun stuff. You're making shirts you're making hats. It's fun. Like, we saw it today, the chamber event. How many tables had chip clips?
Yeah.
You got to think of things like that, not just this is my symbol.
Yep.
It's like, would this look good with a chip clip, but what color chip clip? And then you're like, okay, if you have those things, then those questions down the road become fun.
Yeah, well, it's fun. There's brand recognition.
Right.
There's, you name it. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. And one of the things people aren't realizing is, back when websites were a thing, and then all of a sudden everybody got a device in their pocket.
Right.
Well, what happened with that device? We got internet connectivity. So it means now we're browsing websites on a phone. So what did we have to change in the web world? We went to a responsive website. That's something that on a desktop is going to look one way.
Yep.
But then as we start to shrink that screen size, the site moves with it. Well, branding's the same way. we're in a digital space now that you get this little circle of a profile picture. You
Right.
can't throw your full lockup of a horizontal or vertical logo in there because it's no longer readable or scalable, right? So a lot of companies are missing the mark on bringing in brand awareness by not using either their brand mark, their logo mark, or maybe taking a second to hire somebody like me to
Right.
come in and go, hey, we love our logo, but we need to retrofit it. It needs to be responsive, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many pieces to branding that a lot of folks don't really comprehend the strategy behind it.
How much of your stuff, you said baseball, and every time I see your hat and your logo, that's all I think of.
Yeah.
Dude. And I'm not a big baseball guy. I coach baseball, but like your images and your graphic design are so clean, like a baseball symbol. Like when you see it, the Yankees, when you see the red, it's like, how much is that from being a baseball fan has really because I never got to ask you this question, because that's always been how I viewed your work. It's like it just looks like a baseball logo.
So there's,
and I mean that in the highest.
Oh yeah,
like, I don't mean that.
Well, so a lot of like my kind of, I guess you could say, inspiration, if you will, is sports. I love sports. I grew up playing soccer, baseball, and one of the things in baseball, as you know, with teams, you have monograms. And so as I'm thinking about Searles Creative, well, we got an SC. And I love baseball, so it's like, okay, how do we now start to intertwine that, right? And I always loved, I was never a Cincinnati fan, but I always loved that kind of...
Get off the show. No.
I'm sorry. But their C was always cool, because it was like this weird squished, elongated C, and I'm like, oh, I could throw that into the middle and play with that. And so started to play with some, typography and figure out, okay, creative, we can really take this kind of truncated C and extend our, our typeface so that it's, kind of customized to match it. And then from there, okay, how do we get the S in there? Where's the break point? So there's the, visibly you can see it's the two letters. But that was all inspired around, looking at like San Francisco and, the New York Yankees, the Mets. And so how do we take a monogram but make it clean? Because I've always loved the bold, clean lines, a little more modern, if you will. And here we are.
Yeah, man. I've always wanted to ask you that question, because every time I see your symbol and when it's you making a logo, it's like, it's clean.
Yeah.
It's like you could put that on a shirt, you can put that on a hat, you could put it on red, blue. Like it's always so clean. So you talked about sports, we talked about baseball, and I feel like we're going to take up the rest of the show just talking about this. But how many FC games have you been to this year?
This year, home games, every single one of them.
Every
single one. Hey, season ticket holder.
Yeah.
I got to go. I mean, even right after my newborn came into this earth on the 15th of May, I was at the next game. I think it was a Friday night or Saturday. My wife's also frugal, so we paid for those tickets, so we were going.
Oh, okay. So I was, I was like, we got a whole.
But I'm also a diehard fan. So
we got a whole nother show to talk about how you got away with that one, dude. But wow, man. So you helped design some of the merch for that too, right?
Yep. So all of the, all of their kind of championships, so the back-to-back conference title for Southeast, that graphic was done by Searles Creative. Well, I say Searles Creative, by me, Reese.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, right.
When I say Hickory,
I talk about the business like it's a we.
Yeah, I say we all the time.
Yeah. And then it was funny because, you get commissioned for some of these, and it's like this, like hanging in the balance, because like they're only going to use it if they win, right? Like, how do you kind of plan ahead for that? And so, of course, now they're going to South Region. Okay, well now they're playing for the region. So then we go and make a region shirt. Well, they win. Great. Now it's out there, right?
Right, now you got
And so and then of course Monday had to answer the call to make a national champions shirt that, Lord willing, after Saturday we'll be able to. Well, by the time folks will be watching this, we'll know what the outcome is.
We will, and I was thinking that too, man. I was like, dang. I was like, we're going to talk about it a lot, but by the time it comes out, it's going to be out. But man, I tell you what, we went to, I'm not a big soccer fan, but when we went to I took my wife and the three boys, we went, dude, the atmosphere was electric.
Oh, yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Like Hickory, North Carolina, and I think you and I have talked about this, just like we're turning into a little sports town. Like, I don't think people quite, like with the crawdads, the crawdads over the years has just sort of built and
continue to grow. And
and now FC's come in. And it's like,
well, even the LR, Bears for football, you've got a huge presence, on their home games. So it is a little,
It's getting there,
unknown sports town that's starting to come through the ranks.
Well, what I think is my favorite thing about sports is it brings a community together. Whereas I'm from Pittsburgh.
Yep.
We're all from different, but a sporting event, you're wearing the colors. It does not matter. You're there supporting your team.
Yep.
So as the sports grows in Hickory, the community grows too. And I think that I don't think anyone's really talking about that yet because we have to see it. We're in the middle of it.
Right.
We're really in the middle.
I mean, when you get mid-season in a football club season, and in Little Hickory, North Carolina, we're packing Moret Stadium with over 5,000 people,
crazy.
And at the last game it was 62 plus 100 people, and that's just remarkable when you look at it.
Yeah, and I think when I went, it was the largest crowd ever at like 4,100.
Well, it kind of became a joke with our little section of season ticket holders that every game was a new record.
It did. It really did. Because I was like, we went home and I was like, guys, we were at the
that was
biggest
awesome.
one. Like, blah, blah, blah. And then the next week, there was a post like, oh, largest crowd. Oh, the largest crowd. And then like 3 more weeks. And then they started winning and winning and winning championships.
Yeah.
And now we were up to, what was it, over 6,000
It was 62, I think 47 or 74. But yeah, 6,200 people packed Moret Stadium to cheer on a bunch of dudes playing soccer.
Yeah.
And I love it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. It blows me away. And I'm just happy to be sort of a fly on the wall for it to be happening, dude. But so what's the process like being graphic design with the Hickory FC? Like, do you have to prepare the win? Like if they're like how you just said, like if they win, you have to have a design ready.
Yes. Yeah. So
now, are the shirts like printed already?
No. So the shirts aren't printed just
standing
yet.
over a button. Like
they could be. I mean, it could be. It's more or less, if the purchase order came through, they could absolutely, be off the press and in a box, ready to get handed out, like you'd see in a World Series or Super Bowl. But again, we're a small, NPSL team, right? Yeah. Is that something that you want to chance? It's also that jinxing of like, if we print these, did we just screw things up?
Completely.
But it comes down to you get commissioned for the project. We go through, the iterations of proposing the designs, and typically it's 1 or 2, options. And then from there, the club picks an option, and then I get it prepped for print. Whether that's going to be screen printed or DTF, and then that gets handed off to the powers that be that are going to make the apparel, and the rest is history, man.
Man, how fast does something like that turn around? Like the last couple of weeks with them winning, and then a new shirt. Or
it's been a busy couple weeks.
What's like just a time frame? Like they win, and then the next day you got to have something almost ready to go.
Yep. Yeah, so screen printing, obviously some of the procedures there, you got to burn the screens, get them ready for getting on the machines to pull the shirts and do that. The cool part about DTF is a lot of what the online store is for Hickory FC, and a lot of online stuff these days is that print on demand type thing. DTF, it comes right off a printer, and you just kind of cut off the excess around the design, throw that shirt up onto a heat press, push it down, let it do its thing, pull it up, take the backing off, and here you go, Chris, your shirt's ready, right? So when it comes to something like, a quick turnaround event, while it's a lot on the designer to get that design done quick, if it's like short notice, this day and age, man, technology, we can turn and burn.
That is true. That is true, man. So. Yeah, we're talking about the FC. I'm jumping all over the place because it's only a half hour we got. But do you have a favorite design that you used, or somebody that we already talked about the Hickory FC, who was at the chamber, and then who was at the chamber today. But do you have a design where like I like that one that you made that it holds near and dear to your heart?
Sure.
Not yours. You can't be yours either. But what's one where you're just like I really liked it?
Yeah.
Like you surprise yourself, right?
Yeah.
If you're in marketing or whatever, you like sometimes you come up with something like, oh, I like
that was pretty good. So one of the things, a lot of the clients that I do quite a lot of work for is home services, trades guys, right? And one of the funny parts about trades, if you go back through history, is in the newspaper ads, all that, some kind of a mascot cartoon, right? Some kind of, and this goes back to even the beginning where I was cartooning, right? Is how do you create a mascot for a home service? And some home services are like, no, that's the last thing we want. We don't want a mascot. Okay. But I've had the opportunity to make some really silly but fun, appealing mascots.
That's awesome. Dude.
It's hard to pick one, right? But for the local audience, there's one that we've slowly been introducing for all glass. And it's actually a duo, and it was Chip and Pain. So we literally have glass mascots that have arms and legs and shoes and hands, and but Chip, as you can imagine, has a chip in his glass, and then Pain is this pristine friend of his. And so it's just fun how you get to use stuff like that. And I've got astronauts running around Eastern Pennsylvania on a plumbing truck. I mean, you name it. It's just we get to create and get to cartoon and have some fun, and you kind of bring a company to life. It's like that company up in Pennsylvania, Armstrong Plumbing. How do you make Armstrong cool? And the client came to me like, what if we did a moon theme? Absolutely. So we came up with a lunar drop. So it's a water drop. He's a plumber, right? Shooting star to kind of break it. So we have hot and cold, but it's got lunar craters. And then he has an astronaut mascot that walks around with his flag to stick in the ground that's got the plumbing lunar drop logo on it. I mean, so the creativity is endless, right? And now Armstrong Plumbing is rolling around with hot pinks, purples, blues, and a lunar drop and an astronaut.
That's awesome, dude. That is Chip and Paint's very good.
Yeah, Chip and Paint's awesome.
Chip and Paint's
They're
very good.
Slowly, I think we introduced them about a month ago, and we're just trying to figure out new ways to get them on trucks or get them on their storefront in the windows and you name it.
Yeah, man, so you have all glass. Was one of your man. I tell you what, that is a beautiful. Was it red and blue logo too? Man.
Yeah, we cleaned it up a little bit and made it responsive. That was kind of looking at, they've got this long logo. How do we help them get to a place of brand recognition, but also be able to use it on multiple sized, projects? And so we took that nice clean frame that holds their logo, made it smaller but taller so we could vertically stack all glass, not just horizontal.
Right.
And then we made a smaller version of that, even keeping that brand recognition of that beautiful container frame. And then did the A&G for their brand mark. And so, again, just giving them this responsive logo suite that helps their brand. We looked at assets, mascot, different patterns, different shapes that are going to come across all of their marketing materials. And so this is the creative, you can go down a rabbit hole of all the things that a business could bring in that just helps elevate their game when visuals are needed.
Yeah, so when someone says, I just need a logo, you're like,
do you?
Right. Well, Reese, where can the people find you, man?
So best way is through social media, at Searles Creative. You can also search searlescreative.com. On Google, it should pull up right here in Hickory, North Carolina. Technically Bethlehem, but
it's all Hickory, dude. I found out that like Newton, there's a whole area. When you say Hickory, that's
we're in Hickory. Yep.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you stopping by, man. This was great. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks.
Again, man, another one out there for the love of the game. Do something you want to do. Run towards it as fast as you can, and be passionate about it, man. That's what we're doing here. You guys have a good week.